Hi, GenderqueerChat, it's Callie here. And I'm not coughing and spluttering this time, so that's good, that's a plus. Feeling much better. And the topic this week is fictional characters. What fictional characters do you enjoy and identify with, specifically in regards to gender? And I had a real trouble thinking about this because I don't think that there are really any fictional characters that I can identify with in the sense of see myself as. Like, a while ago, it really is a while ago now, but there was this thing where it was like a furore created where someone had asked this question of Gordon Brown, who was the former Prime Minister here in Britain, and he said, possibly an unguarded moment, possibly kind of unwise spin doctory thing to say, he said that he identified like with Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, which just kind of made him seem ridiculous. Like, he has this idea of like he's this kind of brooding, Moor figure, which is kind of funny. So I don't think I identify with the character in that sense. One of the things I was thinking about was, and this kind of was something I was thinking about a lot early in kind of coming out as genderqueer, was the character Orlando from Virginia Woolf's novel Orlando, who is Orlando was written in 1928, but it's quite a forward-thinking book in the sense that it's about an Elizabethan gentleman who it goes through. He lives through a very long series of events and lives for hundreds of years. And at one point in this very long 100-year life, he falls asleep as a man and wakes up as a woman. And this doesn't really distress him very much. But I mean, she has to cope with things now that she's a woman, and goes back to England and discovers that she no longer has rights to her property. And then she falls off a horse and meets a man, and they get who it's implied was at one point a woman, and they get married, and it's an excellent book. And there's also a film of it which is made by Sally Potter, starring Tilda Swinton, peace be upon her, which is excellent. So I guess I kind of thought about gender the way that Orlando thinks about gender, because it's implied that Orlando's appearance doesn't really change in the book, because at the very beginning and end, it kind of talks about how he's an androgynous Elizabethan boy, which is very much the fashion for the time, and then at the end it's talking about how she's an androgynous 20th century woman, which is very much the fashion for the time, but was the fashion in the 20s, which is really interesting, in how Orlando is just this one person who, and the name doesn't change, she's still called Lady Orlando, and how she just kind of lives this same life and just kind of has to adapt to the kind of societal conventions moving around her. So that was one of my reference points as far as fictional characters go, when I was sort of first starting to think critically about gender in my life. But a fictional character who I thought I wanted to talk about was so I really like the movie Ghost World. Don't know if you've seen it, but it's really good. It's based off a graphic novel which I've also got, but the movie is about these two kind of teenage girls who have just graduated from high school, and the movie is really, really good because the outfits that are worn by Enid, who's one of the girls, who's played by Thora Birch, I think is the actress's name. The outfits in this movie are phenomenal. They are fabulous. You must see it even just for the outfits. Like, there's this dress that she wears, and it's kind of yellow and black with this kind of white collar, and then she has a bow, and there's like a red dress that kind of buttons down the front and the middle, and there's another one where she's wearing like a t-shirt with like dinosaurs on it. It's so cool. The way it looks, the way it's kind of put together, it has a lot in common with kind of the comic book. I think visually it's like it's the comic book is kind of a springboard for this movie and just kind of springs. And I think if I could have the style of any fictional character, it would be, if I could look like any fictional character, I would look like Thora Birch as Enid in Ghost World. But the thing I identify, like, Enid has all these things that she like really doesn't like about people, and she ends up falling for this much older man who is the opposite of. She describes him as he's the opposite of everything she hates. So, like, he's not kind of pretentious, and he kind of thinks about things and is bothered by things, and not that he like does masses of stuff about it, but he doesn't like put up with rubbish. Well, he kind of like does, but he doesn't, like, he complains about it. You kind of have to see it to make sense of why she likes him so much. And he's played by Steve Buscemi. Yeah, it's a really good film. But the thing is, not so much that I identify with Enid as I see myself as being like her, but more that I see her kind of as like a cautionary tale of, not that like she's a bad person, but like this is what it can do to you if you let certain things about the world, about people who, it seems like people don't, it seems sometimes, especially gender wise, although that's not really the issue in the film, that people are just kind of perpetuating systems that are just kind of seem kind of bad and ugly and wrong, and you think that shouldn't be the case, but like it's hard to it's so pervasive that it's hard to kind of do anything about it except through your own personal reaction against it, and then the reactions that Enid gets to her individuality from other people, even from her friend. There's this scene where she's like totally changed her look, and people are sort of in the video store sort of making fun of her, and she tries to explain it, and she says, "Oh, you're too stupid to get it," and her friend, who's played by Scarlett Johansson, says, "I don't really get it either," and she goes, "Everyone's too stupid," and I kind of feel like that sometimes. But then at the end of the movie, it's really sad because Enid just gets on a bus and leaves, and you don't really know where she's going. Just gets on a bus with one bag and just leaves. And I don't know, part of me feels like that's a metaphor for, I don't know, for suicide maybe. Like, I don't think that's what it's saying that has happened to her at the end of the story, but I'm just saying that, like, the notion that you can never get other people to understand could lead you to do that sort of thing. And or maybe not suicide, but just kind of, it's a nihilistic message. And so that's kind of the warning against that. It's like you have to kind of try and, it's a kind of fun kind of teeny-ish movie, it seems, but then actually at the end it's really kind of sad and really thought-provoking. It just seems really nihilistic because you think, well, what's the hope? How can you influence or change things? Anyway, don't, go and see Ghost World. That's really the best advice, because I love it. It's a great film. I haven't watched it recently. I'm going to watch it soon. So yeah, that's what I've got for this week. Really interesting topic, actually, despite the fact I couldn't think of anything for ages. But yeah, see you next week.